Good morning, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Oh man, I don't normally do Saturday streams, but figured I would hop on and talk about what just took place because, guys, the biggest liquidation event in the history of crypto certainly could be classified as a black swan event, no doubt about it. Um, yesterday we talked about how Trump was going to speak at 4 and how we were hopeful he'd say something positive. If he said something negative, could shock markets. We were right about that. We were not right about this. Guys, insane. Cosmos, $4 down to 0.001. We had Sui go from 340 down to 56. I mean, look at some of these drops. There are some rumors out there that there were some pricing issues on exchanges. There's rumors about, crypto.com maybe being illiquid now. None of these are verified, but one thing is for certain, guys, this was the biggest liquidation event in history. I mean, it's so much bigger than anything we've seen. The FTX crash, COVID crash, $19.16 billion. Absolutely insane. Of course, the thing that started it was this tweet from Trump yesterday talking about how he's going to put 100% tariffs on China starting November 1st. So we're going to dissect some of this. Are the markets overreacting? Probably a little bit. I also think, though, that it's not just this announcement. I think there's some funny business going on in the markets, some insider trading, some extraction happening. Okay. So what's the fallout going to be? We have to wait and see. I mean, there's certainly a lot of people that got completely wrecked. I mean, there are people that lost like $50 million that I'm seeing on here. There's some reports of people like offing themselves. Like it's pretty bad out there, guys. It's healthy. You can make the argument sometimes to have, flush out leverage, but in this is really a black swan event. Not to say we couldn't foresee a drop in markets given the events that we talked about the last couple of days, but to this extent is really unthinkable. Now there's some silver lining, but I think we have to really watch to see what Trump does through the rest of this weekend. For one thing I want to call out, and I talked about this the other day, this is his original tweet, and I want to call out the wording he used here. Because there's a lot of reports saying that he canceled his meeting with Xi later this month. He did say that, I was to meet President Xi in 2 weeks. Now there seems no reason to do so. There are reports already coming out that they're walking back these comments a bit. Like, he didn't say he canceled it. He just said at the time, he didn't feel that he needed to. I still believe this is a lot of posturing from both sides. That said, escalations in this case are really bad. On the thing that people aren't talking about enough, yeah, the tariffs are a big deal for sure. The rare earth minerals, though, is a big freaking deal, guys. And I did a deep dive on this 2 days ago, but they are targeting chip production in particular. And, earlier this week, we talked about this. Our GDP growth in the U.S. in the first half of 2025 was almost entirely from AI buildouts of data centers. Our GDP growth would have been 0.1% for the first half of this year. That's also what's been holding up our whole economy. So this would be absolutely detrimental to things if they do hold back chip supply. And, TSMC is one of the companies they're saying could be majorly affected here. They supply chips to all the top 10 most valuable companies in the entire world. Okay. And this is literally what's been holding up our stock market and has been all of our GDP growth lately. And China knows this. Now, they are supposed to meet at the end of this month. I think Trump's reaction, one thing we've seen, and we've seen this time and time again, the timing is very important to pay attention to. He did it on a Friday, right as the stock market was closing. Okay. He's done this a few times now. I think that's very calculated, right? That way, he can have the shock factor. He can then, over the course of the weekend, we'll see what comes out, what reports come out, maybe try to smooth things over to an extent. What will the markets do on Monday morning will be very telling. Okay. Unfortunately, us in crypto, we're 24/7. That we just, people got wrecked. Now, the people that shorted the market, good for you. And if you did it on your own accord and it wasn't insider trading, because this is some bullshit, guys. And this is what I'm talking about. Okay. Liberty Financial is obviously Trump's son's company. one of their big investors, one of their big holders, sold off a ton of World Liberty Financial. So again, this is like a token that launched this year. So they basically created this more or less out of thin air. Let's be real. They made a Hyperliquid account and deposited tens of millions of dollars from their profits from this liquidity that they created out of thin air with World Liberty Financial, and then opened up shorts, massive shorts, just before the announcement and made $190 million. Like, if that's not insider trading, fucking what is, dude? That is absolutely absurd. And it's blatant. And they literally just extracted so much liquidity from the rest of the markets. That is ugly, man. And that's bad for the space. Let's be real. That's really bad for the space. So what's the fallout going to be? Obviously, retail was already struggling. I think a lot of remaining retail got wiped out here. So it's not pretty. And we still don't know what the full fallout's going to be. That said, there is some silver lining here, guys. Some of our plays that we've really been looking at, Aoki in particular, guys, while the rest of the market's red, Aoki is up and up 16.2%. That's insanity. This is one I've been added to throughout the week. I'm strongly considering, after their updates recently, with some of the robotics companies they're working with, they've got some big contracts coming through. Robotics is the next big movement. I'm strongly considering going like aping really hard into this. I already have a big position in my portfolio. I'm thinking about trimming other positions, which hate to do when things are down, but like I do want to expand into Aoki. The strength it's showing in this, with this crash is insane. Rover also largely unaffected. Okay, down 0.6%. A lot of that's because there isn't much volume in general on Rover, but I do believe that Aoki and Rover, to me, those are some bright points in all of this. If you can find some silver lining, and this is going to be a really short update. I just wanted, because I'm heading out for the rest of the day. But I think one thing that we've learned throughout this year and this presidency is that you really have to have a decent percentage of stables ready at all times. And anytime he's going to make an announcement and the timing is right as markets close, especially going into a weekend, you have to be ready for a lot of volatility. And that can be good. If you are stabled up and you're able to pounce on these opportunities, I expect we'll see a lot more volatility for the next 3 years under Trump. You hate to see the insider shit that's going on. No one can convince me otherwise. Like, some of the stuff we're seeing on chain is insane. But the plays that we've been really focusing on have held up really well. So I still, the next couple of weeks, we'll see what happens, guys. Like, if things continue to escalate, as the markets start to realize, okay, this chip issue is a really big deal. The next couple of weeks, we have to really see what happens with markets. There could be a lot of volatility. I still am under the belief that there's going to be a lot of posturing here over the next couple of weeks leading up to this meeting at the end of the month. I don't think it's in China's best interest to like shut down the global economy, which is effectively what that would do. That wouldn't be good for them, but it is certainly a tactic for leverage. And I think they made it very clear they have that leverage. And Trump is fighting back. So we'll see. But I still have to think they'll get something figured out at this meeting at the end of this month. And then we could see this, look back at this as really a generational event. I mean, some of these prices, guys, that we're seeing on some of these alts, these are lower than we saw in the bear market, the bottom of the bear market after FTX. Like, we've got down to freaking $1.50. It's up over $4 now. Absolute insanity. So if you did pounce on some of those opportunities, AVAX got down to $8, already back up over 20, like $22. If you were able to take advantage of those, good on you. But let this be a lesson to us all that there's going to be volatility. It has to be expected. We're seeing certain patterns that we can kind of, leverage, I think, and make sure that you have some powder sideline for these types of events, because they don't come along very often. This is the worst flush out we've ever seen in the history of crypto. So certainly Black Swan event and a historic day. And there's some dark parts of it too, man. But looking at the silver lining, guys, robotics, Aoki, Rover, love it. With that said, guys, that's all I got. Just want to do a quick update. Appreciate you all. Peace.